Tuesday episode of The Young and the Restless begins in the golden haze of early afternoon, as the Abbott family's sprawling backyard is transformed into the scene of the most civilized inquisition Genoa City has ever witnessed. Billy Abbott, ever the charming host, has fired up the grill and arranged picnic benches beneath a canopy of string lights, but make no mistake, this barbecue is less about burgers and more about barbs. He's invited Amanda Sinclair under the pretense of a friendly cookout, yet everyone knows Billy Boy's true agenda: to pry the smallest morsel of truth from the woman who stands between him and Aristotle Dumas's secrets. Amanda arrives dressed in crisp white linen, her posture poised, a faint smile in place as though she anticipates nothing more uncomfortable than a few playful jabs from an old acquaintance. Instead, she finds Billy casually leaning against the picnic table, spatula in one hand, glass of iced tea in the other, his eyes narrowing in bemused challenge. From the moment she steps onto the patio, the air crackles with possibility. Billy greets her warmly, but the tension beneath his "how have you been" is palpable. He motions toward the sizzling steaks and grilled vegetables, his weapon of choice to create the illusion of informality. "You know how I like my ribs," he remarks, slathering sauce with just the right blend of sweetness and spice. "But I prefer my intel even sweeter." Amanda arches an eyebrow but stands her ground, accepting the invitation to sit at the head of the table. Around them, familiar faces mill about: Tracy Abbott chatting with Lauren Fenmore over potato salad, Kane Ashby offering his trademark wry smile to pay silent witness. Glasses clink, laughter flutters in the warm breeze. But beneath it all, a silent game of tug-of-war is unfolding. Billy wastes no time. As he flips a chicken breast, he casually broaches Dumas's project in broad terms. "So, Amanda," he begins, his tone deceptively light, "what exactly is our friend Aristotle planning with that new venture of his? I've heard rumors that it could reshape the cosmetic market entirely. Care to shed some light?" Amanda's lips curve into a serene mask of neutrality. "Billy, you know I can't just divulge my client's confidential plans." Her answer is polite, professional, and precisely the sort of deflection a lawyer would master. Ever the tactician, Billy leans in, voice lowering conspiratorially. "Of course. But you and I go back a long way. Surely there's something you can share, at least in broad strokes? After all, I'm thinking of proposing a partnership with Dumas myself." The carrot dangles temptingly. Amanda feels the weight of his gaze and the quiet hum of the assembled guests, their attentions flicking like small moths between the two of them. She chooses her words carefully. "Billy, you know I respect our friendship," she says, "but I have an obligation to Dumas. I can tell you that the project involves a proprietary compound with unprecedented regenerative properties, but beyond that, I'm bound by attorney-client privilege." The deft mention of something tantalizingly vague is enough to leave Billy wanting more, but not quite enough to break her. He uncrosses his arms and, with a self-deprecating chuckle, nods. "Fair enough. But I'll be keeping a close eye on developments. If Dumas would consider me a stakeholder, you know where to find me." Amanda forces a polite nod, her poker face intact, but as she moves on to help herself to coleslaw, the glint in Billy's eye betrays that this barbecue is far from over. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Genoa City, another drama is quietly unfurling. Nikki Newman is in her beautifully appointed living room when her cell phone buzzes with an unfamiliar number. The voice on the other end is tense and urgent, barely masking desperation. "Nikki, it's Marissa. I'm in trouble." Nikki's heart clenches. Marissa Lewis, once a bit of a free spirit, has always had a knack for landing in dangerous situations, and this call is no exception. Marissa's words tumble out in a rush. A menacing stranger has threatened her, a deal gone wrong has turned violent, and she fears for her safety. Without a moment's hesitation, Nikki leaps to action. She instructs Marissa to stay put, promises she's on her way, and then dials Paul Williams to mobilize the authorities. It's a reminder that, no matter the wealth or power amassed by the Newmans, the bonds of friendship can demand far more immediate loyalty, and far greater sacrifices than any corporate merger. Back at the Abbott barbecue, word of Nikki's dilemma reaches Phyllis Summers via a discreet text. Nikki needs backup. Something's gone down with Marissa. Phyllis tucks her phone into her purse, eyebrows knitting together. It's the perfect opening for her own subplot to unfold. She had been intending to corner Amanda about Dumas's willingness to fund Phyllis's mysterious new project. Rumors suggested everything from a boutique fashion line to an avant-garde nightclub. If Amanda can't, or won't, help Billy, perhaps she will assist an old friend. Phyllis excuses herself from Cameron Kirsten's animated conversation across the lawn and approaches Amanda with a practiced smile. "Hey, Amanda," she purrs, extending a hand. "I hear you're in town for some major legal business. You wouldn't happen to know someone who'd be interested in investing in a creative venture, would you?" Amanda, already juggling Billy's delicate probe, immediately senses the ambush. "Phyllis," she says with measured warmth, "I'd love to help if I can, but I really can't speak for Dumas beyond what my retainer allows." Phyllis's lips press into a thin line, an acknowledgement that once again, she's come up against Amanda's legal wall. Yet in her eyes flickers the calculation of a seasoned strategist, already plotting her next move. Just as tensions at the barbecue reach a simmer, the scene shifts to the Newman mansion, where Nick Newman and Sharon Collins sit across from each other at a polished marble dining table. Between them, a single flickering candle casts half their faces in shadow, an apt metaphor for the uncertainty that has come to define their relationship. "Sharon," Nick begins, his tone weary, "I need to know that I can trust you." The words are simple but carry the weight of every secret they've kept, every misunderstanding that's driven a wedge between them in recent weeks. Sharon's eyes glisten as she reaches across the table to lay a hand on his. "Nick, you've got to believe me, I never intended to hurt you," she implores. "But secrets have a way of slipping out, don't they? And after everything we've been through," she trails off, the memories of betrayal and lingering doubts hanging heavy in the air. Nick exhales, running a hand through his hair. "We've weathered storms before, Sharon. But this one feels different. Amanda's involvement with Dumas, Billy's suspicions, Claire's accident, it all feels like it's spinning out of control." Sharon nods slowly, her expression resolute. "I know," she replies. "But we're stronger together. If we can just be honest with each other, no more half-truths, then maybe we can face whatever comes next." He studies her face, searching for the flicker of deception but finding only the vulnerable sincerity he remembers from their earliest days. Finally, he squeezes her hand. "I want to believe that. I really do." In that moment, although no visible contract is signed, an unspoken vow is renewed, to rebuild trust one honest revelation at a time. As dusk settles over Genoa City, the episode spirals toward its cliffhanger. The Abbott barbecue breaks up with polite farewells. Billy's parting glance toward Amanda betrays that he's far from satisfied, and Amanda's serene composure masks her own internal tally of favors owed. Phyllis, watching from the periphery, takes a deep breath, a signal that her plea for Dumas's patronage is far from abandoned. In the Newman mansion, Sharon and Nick retire to the library, resolving to share every detail of their days apart. On the driveway, Nikki's sleek black sedan pulls into Marissa's apartment complex, sirens in the distance signaling that Paul has arrived. And high above it all, in his private study at Newman Enterprises, Victor Newman pores over financial reports and news alerts, the evening's revelations forcing him to re-evaluate alliances that once seemed unshakable. By the time the credits roll, viewers are left with more questions than answers. Will Billy uncover a crack in Amanda's loyalty to Dumas? Can Nikki and Paul rescue Marissa before harm befalls her? Will Phyllis find a way to secure funding from a client who remains frustratingly elusive? And perhaps most crucially, can Nick and Sharon's fragile pact withstand the next tidal wave of secrets? Monday's episode masterfully interweaves these plot threads, reminding us that in Genoa City, power plays at a backyard barbecue can be just as explosive as boardroom battles, and that trust, once fractured, can take a lifetime to repair. As fans settle in for the rest of the week's drama, one thing is certain: nothing in The Young and the Restless remains simple for long. Propels us deep into the web of alliances and betrayals that have come to define Genoa City's power plays, and at the very center of the storm sits Phyllis Summers, wrestling with a question that cuts to the heart of her most treasured friendships. Just how far will Amanda Sinclair go to help someone she cares about? Phyllis is no stranger to using every weapon at her disposal: charm, guile, and a well-placed favor, to secure what she wants. Yet even she hesitates to press her advantage too hard when it comes to Amanda, the one friend she trusts above all others. The problem is, that trust has never been tested like this before. A lifetime of shared confidences and late-night heart-to-hearts doesn't guarantee that Amanda will answer Phyllis's call for help. After all, Amanda is bound by professional obligation to Aristotle Dumas, the enigmatic titan whose resources and influence fuel her own status as his counsel, and whose interests may one day clash directly with Phyllis's ambitions. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Phyllis reaches out to Amanda, her usual confidence tempered by an anxious hope. She frames her request casually: "You know I'd never ask if it weren't urgent." But behind those words is the same fierceness that once drove her to hijack corporate takeovers and orchestrate boardroom coups. Phyllis needs Dumas's financial backing for a project so secretive that even her closest confidants have only heard hints of it. She counts on Amanda to negotiate on her behalf, to present her case with persuasive elegance, and to persuade her formidable client that investing in Phyllis's vision is both safe and lucrative. Yet Amanda's loyalties are layered and complex. She and Phyllis share a bond born of shared histories and mutual admiration, but Amanda's true allegiance belongs to Dumas. She has championed his interests, maneuvered his legal defenses, and been the architect of many of his most delicate business maneuvers. The question Phyllis must now confront is whether that professional bond allows enough room for friendship, or whether Amanda's duty to her client will override every personal bond they share. What makes this dynamic especially fraught is the question of how much influence Amanda really wields over Dumas's decisions. It's one thing for her to pass along bullet-point summaries of potential investments; it's another for her to shape the very strategies that govern a billionaire's empire. Phyllis has heard rumors that Dumas values Amanda's insight, that he solicits her opinions in private board meetings and respects her judgment when weighing expansion plans. But rumor and reality can be two very different beasts, especially in a town where deception and half-truths run rampant. Has Amanda truly had the ear of Aristotle Dumas when it mattered most, or has she merely provided legal cover while Dumas followed the counsel of more ruthless advisors? When Amanda insists that she has already met with Dumas and pitched Phyllis's idea, can Phyllis trust those words? Or is Amanda subtly shielding the truth, that Dumas may have politely listened but ultimately decided against involvement in Phyllis's venture? While Phyllis grapples with these uncertainties, viewers are also invited into a more intimate realm of trust and risk as Lily Winters and Damian Kane take center stage. Lily, scarred by betrayals both personal and professional, has erected walls around her heart that few have managed to scale. Her reputation for being both fiercely independent and achingly vulnerable has been built on a series of missteps: a love affair derailed by corporate espionage, partnerships ruined by hidden agendas, and friendships frayed by the clash of loyalty and ambition. Now, in what promises to be one of the most emotionally charged conversations of the week, Lily will confront Damian about the very nature of trust itself. Damian Kane, newcomer to Genoa City's labyrinth of half-truths, has until now remained something of a cipher. We know little of the experiences that shaped him, perhaps a childhood of shattered promises, a past punctuated by betrayal, or professional setbacks that taught him to guard his heart as fiercely as any bank vault. In a candlelit corner of Crimson Light's coffee house, Lily and Damian will finally speak openly about the walls they've built around themselves. Lily, in her tailored business suit and neatly pinned hair, will admit that she has long since stopped believing in the possibility of pure motives. She'll confess that every offer of friendship, every gesture of goodwill, has been shadowed in her mind by the fear of ulterior motives. Damian, his features set in a mask of gentle resolve, will reveal that he, too, has been burned by trust misplaced, that a childhood confidant once betrayed his most closely held secret, leaving him wary of any relationship that demands vulnerability. Together, they will explore what it means to extend trust in a world where loyalties shift like sand. Will their mutual candidness bridge the gap between them, allowing a tentative bond to form? Or will the scars they bear prove too deep, driving them back into the safety of isolation? As the episode unfolds, these two storylines, the corporate chess game between Phyllis, Amanda, and Dumas, and the tender dance of trust between Lily and Damian, will intersect in unexpected ways. Amanda's decision about whether to champion Phyllis's cause before Dumas will hinge not only on legal strategy but on her own sense of loyalty. Will she recall the nights spent in whispered confidence with Phyllis and choose friendship over fiduciary duty? Or will the weight of her professional oath to Dumas compel her to place business interests above personal bonds, leaving Phyllis to navigate her venture alone? Meanwhile, Lily's willingness to trust Damian could open a new chapter in her life, or confirm her worst fears about the fragility of human connection. If Damian rises to meet her vulnerability with empathy and integrity, viewers may witness the blossoming of a relationship grounded in honesty. But if he proves too guarded to bridge the divide, their moment of connection may shatter, leaving Lily more isolated than ever. By the time the closing credits roll, Monday's episode will have delivered a potent exploration of the many faces of trust in Genoa City. The transactional trust that guides billion-dollar deals, the personal trust that governs matters of the heart, and the delicate balance between duty and devotion that every character must navigate. As alliances shift and secrets threaten to spill into the open, audiences will be left wondering, who will rise to the occasion and prove worthy of another's faith? Who will let ambition erode the bonds of friendship? And in a city where trust can be both a weapon and a lifeline, who will ultimately decide whose truths deserve to be believed? Tune in Monday to find out, because in The Young and the Restless, trust is never given, only earned, or shattered, in the crucible of high stakes and higher emotions.